Hi, this is MJ, and in today's tutorial I'll be showing you how to make our hooded lamb blanket in toddler size. So the yarn that I'm using for this blanket is Bernat Softee Chunky. So I suggest for the toddler size 2 balls of your contrast color and approximately 5 balls of your main color. The hooks that you'll need for this blanket are a 10mm crochet hook as well as a 6.5mm crochet hook. And these are Furls crochet hooks, and they are the Streamline Swirl. This one is in Aries and the Cookies and Cream. To make your pom-poms, I suggest getting the jumbo size Clover pom-pom maker, and I will have a link in the description box on where you can purchase the supplies. But this is a really quick and easy way to make the pom-poms with hardly any trimming involved, so you'll really want to grab yourself one of them. And they're also the perfect size for hats, so you can definitely get good use out of one of these pom-pom makers. The stitch pattern that I've used in this blanket is a double crochet and puff stitch pattern. It's really simple to make and it works up really quickly. So for the toddler size blanket, you'll be chaining out 59. And I'm just going to work through a smaller swatch with you so that we can work through the pattern a little quicker. So I am going to chain out a total of 19, but for the toddler, you'll be chaining 59. So just get a slip knot, put that on the hook, and then we'll chain out a total of 59. So we'll begin by working a double crochet in the third chain from the hook. So 1, 2, 3. So now I want you to work though into these back humps rather than the back loop of the chain. So you just need to turn your work so you can see those little humps along the back. So 1, 2, 3. So this will be the first one we'll be working into. And we'll work double crochets all the way across. So now for row 2, so you should have 57 stitches now when you've worked across your double crochet. Then we will chain 2, turn, and we're going to work a double crochet in the first 2 stitches. And then we're going to work our puff stitch. So to work the puff, we're going to yarn over, go through the stitch, pulling up a loop, yarn over, go back through the same stitch, pulling up a loop, yarn over, go back through the same stitch, pulling up a loop, yarn over, go back through the stitch, pulling up a loop. We now 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We're going to yarn over and pull through 8, and then yarn over and pull through 2. Then we'll work a double crochet in each of the next 3 stitches. 1, 2, 3. So I always want to have 3 double crochets between our puffs. I'm just getting a bit of a tangle here, so I'm just gonna move that. So we'll always have 3 double crochet between our puffs. So now we'll do another puff, so we'll go through it with you again. You're basically going through the stitch and pulling up a loop 4 times. So yarn over, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, and then you should be going through 8 loops. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So if you don't have, then you might just want to double check how you've to make sure you've yarned over, gone through, and pulled up a loop. So then we yarn over, pull through 8, yarn over, pull through 2. Then we'll do 3 double crochets. 1, 2, 3. and we'll do another puff. And now it's really important when you're making these puff stitches that you keep your stitch going in really, really loose. You'll find it's really hard to pull through all those 8 loops if you're tightening up those stitches. So let's do it one more time. Like I say, we're yarning over, going through the stitch, pulling up a loop 4 times in total so that we pull through 8. And make sure you kind of just give that a yank as you go, because that's going to help keep it all loose. And then yarn over, pull through 8, yarn over, pull through 2. So then again, we'll work across that we have 3 double crochets. And then we're going to have another puff. So 1, 2, 3, 4, yarn over, pull through 8, yarn over, pull through 2. So now we should be ending with 2 double crochet. We started with 2 doubles, and we're going to end with 2 doubles. Okay, so now with a puff stitch, it's going to puff out onto the other side. So when we work the puff on the wrong side of our work, and then it puffs out to the right side of our work, like this. So now for our next row, we'll chain 2 and turn. And between our puff rows will just be rows worked of double crochet stitches. So this row is really simple. We're just going to work double crochet stitches into every stitch across. And you know what? I am going to actually, if you only chain 1 rather than 2, I think it's going to give us a nicer edge along the side, not so much of a bump, which happens from the chain 2. So let's go ahead and chain 1 at the start of every round and then work double crochets across. So I will work this row now off camera, and then I'll meet you back up for the next row. Okay, so I've worked all the way across. We'll chain 1 and turn. And now we're doing another row of puffs, and this time we don't want the puffs going right over top of each other. We're going to offset them. So in order to do that, we need to start out with more double crochets for this row. So I'm going to work across 4 double crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then I will work the puff in the next. Pull through 8, pull through 2. Then we'll work 3 double crochets. And then a puff. Yarn over, pull through 8, yarn over, pull through 2. We'll work 3 double crochets. And a puff. So remember, we're always yarning over, going through, pulling up a loop 4 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, yarn over, pull through 8 stitches, yarn over, pull through 2. So now again, when you get across, you should be ending with 4 stitches, and we'll work a double crochet into the last 4. Chain 1 and turn. And then we'll work a row of double crochets again, and then we're going to just be repeating. So we're going to go back after our row of doubles. We'll go back and repeat row 2. row 3, and row 4, etc. And we're just going to continue working the entire blanket in this manner. So you can see I've got 4 here. Of course, you'll have much more with the bigger blanket, but this is how these are starting and ending. And then this row, see how they're nice and offset? And we're starting with 4, ending with 4. So you're going to have a nice offset bobbles throughout the blanket. It's going to look really nice. So you just want to make sure you end off on the wrong side. So on a puff row, and you're good. And just measure out approximately 26 inches for the toddler blanket. Okay, so I've worked up a total of 26 inches, and I've ended on my puff stitch row so that I have my right side is facing. So I've ended on the puff stitch. Now what I want you to do is just fasten off. Okay, so I've already marked out my hood. So the toddler size hood is a total of 25 stitches. So what I did is I counted 16 stitches in from each side and added a marker. So this marker is in the 16th stitch from the edge, and this is in the 16th stitch from the edge. That leaves 25 stitches for the hood. We have our right side facing. We're going to join in with our yarn, and we'll be chaining 1 and work double crochets in every stitch across. So you'll be working a double crochet across 25 stitches for the toddler. Then we'll chain 1 and turn so that we're working now onto the puff row. And what I want you to do at this point is take a look at the puffs, okay? We don't want them to line up on top of each other again. So what you want to do is just see whether you should work the 2 double crochets and then a puff, or work 4 double crochets and then a puff. So as you can see, this puff stitch is pretty close. If I did 2, I would be ending up right over top. So I'm going to go ahead and do 4 instead. Okay, so I've worked across 4 double crochets. Now we'll do a puff stitch. I'll work 3 double crochets. And a puff. And repeat that along. Okay, I'm working across here, and you should be ending with your 4 double crochets. Chain 1 and turn. Okay, and then you can just take a look at your puffs here. You just want to make sure that they are lining up. So now I ended this row before I started my hood on a row 2 of the repeat, and that's why I needed to do row 4 of the repeat right here, that second row of the puffs, to offset them. So depending on where you end with your measurements, if you end on a 2 or a 4, it may change how your hood. You just want to look at it and make sure that you are offsetting them correctly. You don't want all of a sudden your puffs lining up. So that's just a little common sense, just to double check to make sure it's looking right, and then the blanket is going to look completely consistent. Okay, so I've continued to work in my stitch pattern until I have about 8 inches, and I want you to end on a double crochet row. So then what we're going to do, once you have completed that, so in total I've worked 1, 2, 3, 4 puff rows in total, ending on the double crochet row. Then what we can do is fold the hood together with the right sides facing, and we'll just slip stitch the hood together, okay? So just line it up. Okay, so then the top of the hood is going to look like that. So going through the back loops of each of the stitches, we'll just slip stitch this all the way across to join. And when you've reached the end, you can just fasten this off. And then we can just sew, weave in that end, and then this is how the top of your hood is going to look. Okay, so now what we want to do is edge the blanket. What I'm going to do is come over and join into our left hand corner. Chain one and single crochet into that corner. Now what we're going to do is single crochet evenly down the side of the blanket. So we're going to finish off that edge. So when you're single crocheting down the side, what you want to keep in mind is how the stitches look. So if they're looking too bunchy, you may just want to alter how you're working them across. So we want the row to look nice and even. We don't want too many stitches or too few stitches pulling the side. So just try to evenly space them out so that that edge of the blanket looks nice and smooth. So what we're going to do is now work this edging around the entire blanket. So I'm going to work it all the way up across the hood, and I'm going to come back to where I start. And I want you to add 3 single crochet at every corner you come to. Okay, and then I'll meet you back up at the corner, and then we'll finish off with some loopy stitches across the hood. Okay, so I've worked all the way around. I've added 2 single crochet now in that final stitch, and then I'm going to slip stitch to join. So now that we're on the wrong side of our work, we can make our loop stitches. The loop stitches are always made on the wrong side of your work because the loops are going to go over to the right side. So what we're going to do is go through the stitch, and we're going to go over top of this first piece of yarn we see. We're going to go in behind. So you're basically going through that loop you've made, grabbing this yarn, pulling it through. I like to just pinch the loop here and then yarn over and pull through too. And then just give it a tug to secure it. So again, I hold my yarn up. I'm going to go through my stitch, go over top of the yarn, going through the hole, grabbing the yarn from the back, pulling it through, yarn over, pull through 2. Go through the stitch. So it's like I'm going around, through, twisting my hook, grabbing it, pulling it through, grabbing that loop and pulling it over, and securing that. Now you want to try to make your loops, they're all approximately the same size. So let's go through the stitch. We're going to go over top, under, twisting, grabbing the yarn, and just go back and keep watching until you have that figured out. So over, under, wrap around and grab and pull through. Okay, so this is how your loops are going to look. So I'm going to complete working that across my blanket. Okay, so next what we want to do is make the ears for the lamb. So they're basically going to sit on the hood like this. I've already made one, and I'll just show you how to make the other. Now we're going to use the smaller hook. So this is why we need the 6.5 millimeter to make our ear. So let's get started. We'll need the main color and also our contrast color in the baby blue. So for the inner ear, we're going to chain out a total of 6. So we'll make a slip knot, put that on the hook, and chain 6. We'll work a single crochet in the second chain from the hook and in the next 3 chains. And we'll add 2 single crochet in that final chain. Now we'll turn and work to the opposite side of the chain, working 2 single crochet into the first chain, make sure you pull that tail to tighten it up, and then we'll work down 4 more single crochets. So there's 2, 3, and 4. Now we'll slip stitch to join in the first single crochet. So we have a total of 12 stitches all the way around. Now we'll chain 2, and that is not included as a stitch. We'll work 2 double crochet in the first stitch, we'll work 2 double crochet in the next stitch, two half double crochet in the next 2. So 1, 2, 1, 2, and then 2 single crochet in the next 4 stitches. So 1, 2, then 2 half double crochet in the next 2, and 2 double crochet in the next 2 stitches. And then we will slip stitch in the first double crochet to join. Now what you want to do is take this tail and weave it along the back side, and we can fasten off with a tail for sewing. Okay, so now we'll work on the outer ear. We'll begin with a chain 8 in our main color. We'll single crochet in the second chain from the hook and in the next 5 chains. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and in the last chain we'll work 2 single crochet, turn your work so that we're working now to the opposite side of the chain, and we're just repeating the same thing. So 2 single crochet in the first chain, pull that tail tight, and then we're working down a total of 6 single crochet. So 1 single crochet in each of the next 6 chains. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then we'll slip stitch in the first single crochet to join. So you should have a total of 16 stitches. And then we'll work 2 single crochet in each of the next 6 stitches. Two half double crochet in each of the next 2 stitches. And then 2 double crochet in each of the next 3 stitches. Then we'll slip stitch into the first double crochet to join. Then we can fasten that off. So now what we're going to do is sew the inner ear to the outer ear. So you just want the wrong side facing the right side of the outer ear. Then we can take our yarn needle and put the long tail So now when I'm sewing, I want to go through. I don't want to affect the nice stitch, so I'm going to go just below the stitch here, and then I'm going to go through the back loop only of the blue. So you just want to work that all the way around, sewing the ears together. Now here's just a little tip I thought I should show you how to do just to make this ear look a little bit better. Instead of slip stitching to join, you can do the seamless join. So I just pulled that back. What you're going to do is go through that stitch. You're going to come back and go through the back loop only. And it's just going to make it seamlessly just go right around. And then we can weave in this tail because we actually will be pinching the narrower end of our piece. So I just want this top piece of the ear to look a little bit smoother. So I'm just going to get that out of the way. Okay, so once you finish sewing at the ear, I just wove in all of the ends. So now this is what you're left with. Now you want to take the narrow end of the ear, and that is what we're going to pinch together so that the ears look like this. So you just want to take a strand of your main color yarn, and we're just going to sew the bottom together so that it stays pinched like that. Okay, so I'll just finish sewing that and then we will attach them to the hood. Okay, so now for sewing the ears to the hood, I am just going to place them, so not on the puff stitch round. row, but the next row. And I'm just going to evenly sew those both just to the side here of the hood. So you just want to go through the stitches on that row and sew that. To make the pom-poms for our hooded lamb blanket, I suggest using a jumbo pom-pom maker. It makes it really quick and easy to make these pom-poms. And what you're going to do is take your yarn and start wrapping it around the two arms, like so. I like to pull just the yarn from the outside of the ball because it won't be as crinkly from the inside. So I'm just going to keep wrapping that basically until we can't see any more of the greenish colored arm. Okay, so once you get as much yarn on there as you'd like, all you need to do is take your yarn and trim it, and then pop those arms inside. And now we're going to take the other side and pop those arms out. And then we're going to go ahead and do the exact same thing. You just want to make sure that you wrap about the same amount of yarn on this side as you did the other side. Okay, we'll just trim that. Pop that together. Now what you're going to do is take your scissors and just trim all of your yarn on both sides. These aren't the best scissors for this, so you might want to have a nice, good pair of sharp scissors. So your next step is to take your yarn and you're going to thread it down through the grooves. When I'm tying, I like to go once and then go one more time, and that's going to help secure this. You want to pull that nice and tight. You don't want any of your strands coming loose. So then we're going to do the same thing on the other side. So I like to go once, go twice, and then that's going to help it secure when you pull that nice and tight. Again. And then now we can just open it up. Can give it, I find, just give it a nice shake. There's just going to be a few stragglers. You're not going to have to do a whole lot of trimming, which is going to save a lot of time and effort, especially when we're making so many for this blanket. So it makes a perfect pom-pom, not a lot of trimming involved other than those few little straggly bits, so we're not wasting any yarn. So you can go ahead and make really as many as you want. I'm suggesting maybe 7 down each side. You may only need 6. Just kind of take a look at your blanket. These pom-poms are fairly big, so I will lay my blanket out with my pom-poms and make sure I don't over make before I finish, and I'll pop up for you how many I used for sure for my blanket. Okay, so I have both of the ears on, and now the final step is just to add your pom-poms to the side of the blanket. So I'm going to add a total of 5 for my toddler up each side. So I made a total of 10 pom-poms, and I was able to make the 10 pom-poms and do the ears with 2 balls of my contrast color. So what you can do is you can just tie them to a bow so that you can remove them if you need to. So I would just evenly space them now up each side of the blanket. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. If you did, please give this video a thumbs up. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to my channel and tap the bell to stay updated on all my new videos and tutorials. Thanks so much, guys. Have an awesome day.